You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Conversation about these two teams as it relates to the following programs. I mean, Oregon's best win is probably against USC. I mean, and I think USC is a good team. Is USC better than Utah? I don't know. Are they better than BYU? I don't know. I think we would have opinions about that, but I think that's a conversation to have. I think clearly Indiana is better than Arizona State. Okay, the two losses that these two teams have faced, but I think you could make the argument your wins are better than their wins. Now, at one point, I think the Penn State game was thought to be, because I watched that game. That was an unbelievable environment. And Penn State went from being ranked like third in the country at the time to just the wheels falling off. Their head coach is fired, and it's just they're not even a shell of what they are. Maybe Oregon broke them. I don't know. I think they do get some credit for that game. Just like we would sit here talking about, I mean, did you break Kansas State ultimately? You know, we thought, like, internally, you thought that win against Kansas State for all kinds of reasons was very big for Texas Tech. Outside looking in, a lot of people aren't going to feel that way or view it as such. So there's some of those games too. And I'm not saying that Kansas State is better than Penn State or anything like that, but I'm just saying that there's some different dynamics here. But that's clearly one of the narratives out there, is that this is a step up in weight class for Texas Tech. Oregon is clearly more tested. True or false, I don't know, but that's some of the national conversation as it relates to this game. But I think what Dan Lanning is saying is, there's certain things you look for in a football team. They do these things well, so it doesn't matter what league they're playing in.
And I think most realistic Tech fans or even Big 12 fans would understand that you're going to have to go and take everything every time. I don't think it matters what you do. As far as achievement this go around, you'll have to go and take it all again next year, whoever is waving the Big 12 banner, so to speak. It's just going to be the way it is. And I think you have to get it, because you're basically a logo-less conference. There are not 100,000 seat stadiums to go test yourself in front of on the road. And particularly whenever you were in your former state, two of your biggest, we're not doing that anyway. They met up near the Tilt-A-Whirl at the Carnival. That's a whole conversation and be for another episode. Won't get started on that. But we get that. Blue Bloods walk out the door. It doesn't stay exactly the same. So, yeah, there were some like internal inherent fan base or program challenges that you felt like it was nice to sort of live up to. A road win in Manhattan kind of being an example of that. And then there was actually just impressive wins. And I think we can kind of go podcast or fan mode till we're blue in the face talking about, well, Utah versus this or that resume-wise. It doesn't matter. You're going to have to go out and take it. And Big Ten and Oregon is a fine place to start if you can pull that off coming up in Miami. But for the most part, Chris, I just kind of look at the steady Eddie nature of Texas Tech this season. You know, I've talked about this. I think anybody that really has tried to be fair-minded about it has mentioned this. The consistent domination can't be ignored. Either that suggests the Big 12 is maybe even worse than we thought, I don't know, or that Texas Tech is validated as far as keeping some elite company nationally. There could be some truth somewhere in the middle of that. I don't know, but that's just one thing that turned me into, as a lifelong Red Raider and someone traumatized time and time again, turned me eventually into somebody that could not avoid being a believer, because what I'm seeing in front of my face is sound as far as what you need between the lines to compete. And it's all those things we've already been running down, and he just ran down as well. It is different than it has been in years prior, when you are just hoping on shots falling every week and falling in large multitude to give you any shot at competing. So we'll see. It's prove it or go home time. And everybody, I think, knows that at this point in the year. At this point in the year, Chris, we are in the midst of about a week and a half layoff. That was following 3.5 weeks for some, bowl season. You get to the point where you're going to culminate a year and you say, wait longer. And then let's wait a little longer. Okay, and now let's go. Ready, fire. Coach Lanning had some thoughts on that aspect of the college football playoff, and maybe something that he could generate some consensus as a result of in Lubbock, Texas. should the game be played in the 8:06? He may have a few votes in his favor with that thought as well. Here he is explaining.
First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and football is in full force, and FanDuel's keeping you stocked with action every game day with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered. Quick, easy, and secure every time. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
More of an indicator that the way we do playoffs in college football is messed up, right? I mean, in my opinion, we're really excited to be going to the Orange Bowl, but this game should be played at Texas Tech, right? They're the higher seeded team. We should play a week, like right after the last game. The next playoff game should be the next Saturday. The next playoff game should be the next Saturday. The next playoff game should be the next Saturday, and the championship game. But we're trying to fit a lot of things in different sequence. But in my opinion, this game should be played at Tech. There should be a home field advantage for them. But I know their fans will travel, our fans will travel, and we're really excited to be playing in the Orange Bowl. So I could talk about what ifs and all those pieces. There's definitely a skill and an art to making sure that your team's prepared when you have long breaks. And I think that was clear last year. Certainly it'll be clear now. You got a little bit more time to prepare for this game, but a little bit different than the last one. And that's the other part that doesn't make really a lot of sense, is the sequence of days in between each game and each playoff. There's just not really a rhythm. And for us as a coach, it's about how do you create that rhythm? How do you challenge yourself to say, okay, how can we keep things the same as much as possible for our players? And it's tough when you have big gaps and big breaks like that. But I don't know that it's a sided advantage for one team or the other. You're dealing with different issues.
Everybody's sort of having to navigate it, Chris. I do kind of wonder start-wise. Is Oregon a little quicker start because they just had a tune-up of sorts, something like that? I don't know.
Well, there's a lot to get into there because there's the playoff structure, and I think Coach Lanning and Coach McGuire really agree on a lot of these things. And I do think that you're about to see some tweaks and changes to this. I just don't know what that's going to look like. And then there's the other dynamic that he's talking about is just the lengthy layoff. Obviously last year they were the Indiana of the tournament and sitting there waiting on an opponent and getting to go to the Rose Bowl, which was a perfect situation for them. And then they just got blown out. The game was just over mid second quarter, and all you can point to is it's like this whole season. It's all there, and then in a quarter and a half, it's just poof, gone. So I think they have been going to end up have been on both sides of the equation on the getting the bye and not the bye, and the lengthy layoff. I'm sure that he's got some different ways to go about it, but that's the trickiest thing for Texas Tech is just the 3.5 to 4 weeks between games, and you have to remember how to play football when you get going. And you won't know until you know. They all know that there's a layoff. They all know that, hey, you'll need to start fast. Hey, this is going to be a different deal. There's a lot at stake. I mean, all these things, but sometimes it takes a sec. And if it takes too long, sometimes it's over, as Oregon found out last year. So I think Joey has talked to everybody he knew that has gone through it or had advice on how to practice 3 weeks before, 2 weeks before, the week of, exactly when to take the break, how to handle it once you get on site. I mean, all the things, but you just kind of have to read your team and have to tweak it to fit what would be best for you. And again, I do think that the lengthy break has been great for Baron Morton. I don't mind saying that. I think that's the main positive, and anybody else that was ailing, but him specifically, because I think you'll see a different player on New Year's Day than we had seen, and I think it will be nothing but a benefit to him. And maybe he overcomes any sort of rust because he's got some more juice and is way more mobile and back to himself. Maybe that. So, but that's a huge thing. That's probably the biggest worry going into this one on the Texas Tech side of things. It's just what does that look like? And it's a total unknown. It's a total unknown. The thing for Oregon, we've talked about body clocks going literally from Eugene to Miami, Florida is just, it's a long trip. And then the different time zones and, Coach Lanning's like, hey man, they got a football field there. We'll be good. We've traveled all year. I'm not worried about that at all. But that, and as where Joey could say, I'm not worried about the length of layoff. We'll be fine. I got a mature team. I got an old team. They know what's at stake, all that stuff. But you just don't know until you know. So maybe some of that cancels each other out. I have no idea. Then there's the whole coordinators thing for Oregon too that we have been monitoring as well. That I think is advantage Texas Tech from that standpoint. So, but yeah, the playoff dates though, I think that if people like Coach Lanning and Coach McGuire and enough of the voices start to speak up, and I do think there's a pretty good chance that